Today's news highlights 20250818. Date August 18, 2025. Republic of China August 18, 114. Time cutoff point, 1500 hours on the same day. News highlights: the Ministry of Health and Welfare has launched the Medical Fertility Preservation Subsidy Pilot Program since September 1, 114, providing egg freezing or sperm retrieval preservation subsidies for breast cancer and blood cancer patients aged 18 to 40, with a maximum subsidy of 7 yuan for women and 8,000 yuan for men each time. The medical community pointed out that with the advancement of cancer treatment technology, cancer does not mean losing hope of fertility. Egg freezing can increase the preservation rate to 40%, and studies have shown that if breast cancer patients successfully have children after treatment, recurrence and mortality rate are lower. The program helps reduce financial pressure and opens up the possibility for cancer patients to pursue their family dreams. News highlights: although onions often play a supporting role, their nutritional value should not be underestimated. Doctors pointed out that onions contain antioxidants and sulfur-containing compounds, which have anti-inflammatory, cholesterol-lowering, and cardiovascular health effects. Studies have shown that onion supplementation can raise good cholesterol and lower bad cholesterol, and the effect is more obvious for people with dyslipidemia. Although the reduction is not as good as that of drugs, long-term inclusion in the diet can help healthcare. However, onions are a high FODMAP food, and people with sensitive stomachs may experience flatulence or diarrhea, so it is recommended to eat them in moderation and cooked. Common dishes such as cold sesame vinegar onions, onion soup, and stir-fried shredded carrots with onions are both delicious and healthy. News highlights: 4 people, including Chen Yailai, a domestic liver transplant authority, were accused of interacting with 9 patients to China for liver and kidney transplants between 2016 and 2019, charging more than 10 million yuan. The prosecution believes that the sentence is too lenient and violates international medical ethics and the Istanbul Declaration, which may damage Taiwan's international image, and has filed an appeal. Chen Yailai is not the first offender. He has been involved in illegal intermediaries as early as 2008, and the source of organs in China is not transparent, and the outside world has questioned that it may involve live organ harvesting. Experts call for illegal transplants to be severely punished to maintain social justice. News highlights: US President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a summit in Alaska on August 15, and although they did not reach an agreement on ending the Russia-Ukraine war, Trump said that the two sides had reached a number of consensus, and immediately called Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to invite him to the United States for negotiations next week. Zelensky expressed support for the trilateral talks between the United States, Russia, and Ukraine. The EU and leaders of many countries issued a joint statement, emphasizing that Ukraine needs solid security guarantees and that Russia must not veto its accession to the EU and NATO. The United Kingdom praises Trump's leadership, and India calls for continued diplomatic dialogue. The Czech Republic criticized Putin for still trying to expand, while Sweden and Slovakia supported continued pressure on Russia. Overall, the international community affirmed the summit and looked forward to peaceful progress. News highlights: China Evergrande, 03333. HK, once had a market value of HK$ 400 billion, and will now be delisted for less than HK$ 2.2 billion. Evergrande's total liabilities are as high as 2.39 trillion yuan, and it is insolvent, and it may eventually be borne by 4 types of creditors: bad debts of banks, bad debts of suppliers, investors losing all their money, and defaults on overseas bonds. For ordinary shareholders, delisting means that the funds are almost gone. As for the remaining 162 unfinished buildings, only about 80 units have been delivered, and more than 70 units are still far away. Analysts believe that Evergrande's explosion announces the end of the era of high leverage and high turnover in real estate, and the industry will enter a long-term adjustment of deleveraging and debubbling. News highlights: when taking a bath, the mirror is prone to fog due to steam condensation, which affects the use. McKenna, associate editor of The Spruce, shared that she found that toothpaste is effective in preventing fog. After applying a thin layer of mirror surface, the effect lasts for about 1 to 2 weeks. If you don't use toothpaste, you can also try dishwashing liquid, shaving cream, and anti-fog spray. The British Sanitary City recommends soap, glycerin, vinegar, and other methods, all of which can temporarily prevent fog. A longer-lasting solution is to install an electric anti-fog mirror to prevent water vapor condensation through heating. Different methods have different durability and convenience, so you can choose the most suitable anti-fog solution according to your needs. News highlights: Taiwanese people love to eat health foods, and the top 6 items are B-complex, multivitamins, vitamin C, probiotics, fish oil, and enzymes. The epidemic has further boosted demand, with the average intake of healthcare products per person increasing from 2.1 to 4.4, and the market size will reach 175.6 billion yuan in 2023. Under this trend, Zhang Jiaming, who started with dating software, founded Dian Biomedical in 2018 due to health needs, focusing on high-concentration fish oil and strict testing, and relying on the parent company's 1,500 member base to develop. Dian's revenue continues to grow, reaching 1.36 billion yuan in 2024, and it is actively expanding into the Japanese, Australian, and Southeast Asian markets, indicating that cross-border entrepreneurship can also make a name for itself in the healthcare product industry. News highlights Dawin MRT has been open to traffic for 8 years, and its traffic volume has increased significantly in recent years, reaching 4,189.7 passengers in 2024, an increase of nearly 50% compared to 2019, driving revenue growth. Deja originally planned to spend 60 billion yuan to purchase 10 trains, but it was blocked by the suspension of the signal system and the need to replace it, and the cost soared to 170 billion yuan. Short-term responses include adding stops to A2 stations for direct trains and adjusting seats to increase capacity to alleviate congestion. In the long run, it is necessary to evaluate the growth of traffic volume and replace the signal system at the right time. Although Deja has turned losses into profits, whether it can take into account finances and passenger experience will become a challenge in the future. News highlights Kumamoto and Nagasaki prefectures in Kyushu, Japan, have recently been hit by record-breaking heavy rains, affecting nearly 17 households, and the rainfall in some areas has reached a record high in the history of observations, causing mudslides and flooding. Kikuyo Town, where TSMC's Kumamoto plant is located, is also facing flood threats, but operations are not affected. Experts pointed out that semiconductor factories are most afraid of water inflow and disruption of ultra-pure water supply, which will lead to production capacity shutdowns. However, TSMC has already strengthened plant design in accordance with climate resilience guidelines, and introduced the TCFD framework to identify risks such as drought and flooding and establish response processes. Its goal of 0 days of climate disaster interruption was achieved 7 years ahead of schedule, demonstrating ESG governance and disaster prevention capabilities. News highlights Peng Xiao, 50, chairman of Quanyu Biotech, gave up his father's status as the successor to his father's timber business at the age of 24 to start a business in Malaysia, focusing on agricultural waste conversion and biotechnology fertilizers, laying out ESG concepts in advance to increase crop yields and reduce environmental pollution. With the 333 business rules to manage connections and deeply cultivate local culture, at the age of 35, he was awarded the title of Dato in Malaysia and was known as the Fertilizer King. After successfully establishing a foothold in Malaysia, Quanyu Biotech is now extending its tentacles to Indonesia, promoting the next wave of green agriculture revolution through its own team and technology. News highlights the Ministry of Labor is expected to hold a minimum wage review meeting in September, referring to the latest economic growth rate and CPI of the Controller General's office, and estimates that the monthly minimum wage will be raised to 29,450 yuan and 196 yuan per hour next year, an increase of 860 yuan and 6 yuan respectively, an increase of about 3% to 4%. However, the results of the U.S. tariffs on Taiwan and the 232 survey, as well as whether the electricity price for people's livelihood will be raised, are still uncertain factors affecting the adjustment. The Ministry of Labor will follow the minimum wage law and synthesize 10 indicators such as CPI, GDP, and labor productivity to ensure the basic living needs of marginal workers. News highlights in the second quarter of 2025, Cathay Gold, Fubon Gold, and Kai Fund simultaneously reduced their weights in high-valued large electronics stocks such as TSMC, Delta, and SHIBang, and turned to overweight low-valued, high-yield mature process stocks such as UMC, with a total of nearly 6.5 shares sold TSMC and nearly 37.8 shares bought UMC. According to Legal Person Analysis, the three major financial holdings avoid high-valuation AI core stocks and prefer electronic supply chains that have both business cycles and stable dividends, while financial stocks rotate internally, taking into account capital gains and interest income. Looking forward to the second half of the year, high-yield electronics and cyclical stocks are still attractive. News highlights since the beginning of this year, ETFs have continued to be favored by investors, with a total net subscription of 5,267.76 billion yuan as of the end of July, of which there are 12 popular ETFs with more than 10 billion yuan, with the most popular type of Taiwan stocks with high dividends, a total of 5, 3 market capitalization and bonds, and 1 reverse ETF. The top 3 net subscription ETFs are Yuanta Taiwan 50, 1,821.57 billion yuan, Yuanta High Dividend, 1,364.24 billion yuan, and Qunyi Taiwan Select High Dividend, 1,313.92 billion yuan. Driven by the high-end volatility of Taiwan stocks, the clarity of tariff wars, and the bright financial reports of technology stocks, market funds continue to flow in, and non-investment grade bonds also attract demand for stable allocation due to low credit risk, high yield, and low duration. News highlights recently, the market's expectations for the U.S. Federal Reserve to cut interest rates before the end of the year have increased, and many banks have taken advantage of the situation to launch high-interest fixed deposit projects in the U.S. dollar, with a maximum annual interest rate of 10%. Wangdao Bank provides a 3-month annual interest rate of 5% for new funds, and a 1-month 10% interest rate for new account openings. Bank Sinopac has launched a multi-currency preferential fixed deposit, with an annual interest rate of up to 7.7% in US dollars, and an interest rate of 3.1% to 4.5% for 1 to 6 month plans. Far Eastern Bank provides a rare 9-month US dollar fixed deposit with an annual interest rate of 4.4%. KGI Bank has a 3-month interest rate ranging from 4.15% to 5.25%. Depending on the single amount to meet the people's short-term or medium and long-term foreign currency financial needs. News highlights People's Party Chairman Huang Qiaoqing expressed his candidacy for mayor of New Taipei, and recently actively won over local factions of the Kuomintang, showing off his ABS and creating topics in parent-child activities, creating an image of close to the people, strong and self-disciplined. On the other hand, Kuomintang Vice Mayor Li Sichuan relied on grassroots organizations to stabilize the local area and sweep the streets to pray for votes. Political commentators pointed out that if Huang Qiaoqing's voice politics is to be effective, it still needs Liu Zhaoyan's cooperation and blessing, otherwise no matter how hard the abdominal muscles are, it may be empty and joyful. News highlights recently, elderly driving and traffic safety issues have attracted renewed attention. From January to May this year, 507 elderly people died in traffic accidents, an increase of 5.2% over last year, and motorcycle accidents were the main ones, with an accident rate of 58%. The Ministry of Transportation lowered the license renewal age to 70 years old and tightened the cognitive test, but the civic group pointed out that elderly accidents not only come from driving, but also pedestrians and wheelchair users also face traffic challenges, such as insufficient bus spacing, lack of low-chassis vehicles, and insufficient space for double-iron wheelchairs. News highlights a 70-year-old alpine guide surnamed Chen took his 8-year-old grandson and a 63-year-old woman surnamed Jean to climb the third section of the southern section of the Central Mountain Range. Expert CAI Rixing pointed out that although Chen and Jean have rich experience, the team structure and adaptability are insufficient, especially the risk of challenging long-distance routes with children during the typhoon season is too high, and criticized the mountain huts for being designed as free hotels, which can easily induce climbers to take risks. Tsai emphasized that mountaineering needs to pay attention to meteorology, wind avoidance techniques and satellite communication to avoid the recurrence of consumer deaths. News highlights the controversy over former Taipei Mayor Kay Wen's involvement in the Jinghua City case has heated up. The prosecution exposed Kay Wen's handwritten post-it note in October 2020, instructing Vice Mayor Peng Zhensheng to speed up the handling of the Jinghua City case, slapping him in the face for his previous claim that he was unaware and did not give instructions. The post-it note appeared after Jinghua City Company lost the lawsuit, but Kay still instructed to speed up the administrative process, allowing Jinghua City to obtain nearly 12 square meters of floor area with detailed plan changes, and avoid giving back to the city government in accordance with the land management regulations. Only Deputy Secretary General Li Dequan signed off and requested to deal with it in accordance with the city's consistent regulations, but was later communicated and coordinated by city officials with post-it notes to avoid embarrassing civil servants. News highlights internet celebrity lawyer Xian Ta, Li Yuquan, was released on bail due to his involvement in the Linggu Pagoda fraud case, and was exposed by a weekly magazine with close contacts and intimate photos with wealthy businessman Wang Guangde, causing controversy. Xian Ta's lawyer recently made a video to fight back, clarifying that Wang Guangde was not TAKEN 40 million, paid the insurance money to raise money for his family, and did not ask the wealthy businessman for meals. She pointed out that she met Wang Guangde through the introduction of a lady surnamed Wang, and the intimate photos were taken at the instigation of the lady, which was misused by the weekly magazine as evidence for rumors. Senta emphasized that she ran a law firm by hard work, criticized the media for denying women's entrepreneurial efforts with humiliation, and told supporters that the truth will take time to clarify and that she will not be knocked down by malicious remarks. News highlights the Ministry of Labor launched the 55+ employment promotion measures to encourage people over 55 years old and those over 45 years old who have retired in accordance with the law to return to the workplace. Those who have been out of the workplace for more than 3 months, have been recommended by public employment agencies for employment for 90 days, can apply for a reward of 3 yuan once, and a total of 6 yuan for a maximum of 2 times. Some working hours are 15,000 yuan each time. Companies that provide education and training, flexible working hours, family care or psychological care, and apply for a monthly workplace support and counseling fee of 3,000 yuan for up to 12 months. Successful cases include a 60-year-old man surnamed Xiao in Keelung, who relied on this measure to match a ship parts maintenance company, stabilize employment, and receive a reward of 6 yuan. News highlights the prospects for peace and security in Ukraine remain uncertain. Zelensky said that the United States will provide Ukrainian security guarantees, covering land, sea, and air, and hopes for European participation, but the details are unclear, and whether Ukraine needs to accept territory occupied by Russia is still to be confirmed. Since the Russian invasion in February 2022, about 1/5 of the country has been occupied. There are reports that the United States may provide protection similar to NATO's Article 5 as an alternative to not allowing Ukraine to join NATO, but the scope and strength of the protection still need to be negotiated to confirm. News highlights: according to Japanese police sources, a fire broke out in the Dotonbori area of Namba, Osaka at about 9 a.m. on the 18th, and some people reported seeing black smoke coming out of the building. The fire department pointed out that the fire broke out on the first floor of a 7-story building, and 33 fire trucks and 1 helicopter have been dispatched to extinguish the fire. As of now, it is unclear whether anyone was injured, and the details are still under investigation. News highlights: an 8-year-old boy surnamed Zhang miraculously survived due to bad weather in the South 3rd Section mountainous area on the 16th, but his grandfather Chen Yunfeng and female mountaineer Zhan Yazu were unfortunately killed. Rescuers pointed out that the 2 adults were immersed in a low-temperature environment for a long time, but managed to keep the boy dry and supplemented with food to survive. Zhang Tong calmly took his grandfather's mobile phone to report the case afterwards and guided the rescuers to locate them, showing their courage to overage. Chen Yunfeng is a senior guide who has accumulated nearly 300 mountains, and Zhan Yazu is a Daowen special search volunteer and alpine guide, who has been involved in mountaineering and rescue for many years, and the sacrifices of the 2 are reluctant. News highlights: the Japan Meteorological Agency issued a gale warning this morning, and the tropical depression east of Taiwan continues to strengthen, and the 12th typhoon Lingling of the year may be formed as soon as tonight, approaching Okinawa in a northward path. The Meteorological Administration pointed out that the current low pressure is located about 580 kilometers east of Lunb, and it has a tendency to develop into a light typhoon. Affected by the southern cloud system, there will be brief showers or thunderstorms in Taitung and Pingtung throughout the day, local heavy rain in the afternoon in the western half and eastern mountainous areas, and short-term heavy rain in the southern and central mountainous areas cannot be ruled out. News highlights: the documentary In the Name of Survivors, Deep into the Korean Massacre exposed the shady scene of the Busan brothers' house in the 1980s, where 38,000 people were forcibly detained, subjected to labor, beaten, and even sexually abused, and could only eat rotten food, with more than 650 deaths, described as the Korean version of the Nazi concentration camp. Survivors suffered physical and mental trauma, and some had difficulty reintegrating into society, but the South Korean government has not compensated so far. Although the founder's son admitted that his father was only responsible for 30%, he pushed 70% to the government, which caused public outrage. After the film was released, it shocked all walks of life, and the audience called it heavy and emphasized the importance of documentaries exposing the dark truth. News highlights: after the artist Hwang Ji-kyun divorced Xia Kelly, Xia Kelly fell into scandal again. Whistleblower Ge Saiki accused him of cheating on him many times during marriage, having relationships with many female fans, and even releasing his nude photos and recordings, revealing that he had dealings with fans before his marriage dissolved. Another female fan P-Girl said that she had a relationship with Xia Kelly and was pregnant, and complained that she was ignored after shooting, and in the recording, Xia Kelly bluntly said, "I can't have this child," confirming that the 2 parties did have improper dealings. At present, Xia Kelly has not responded, and the agent only confirmed that the partnership has ended in March, and the incident continues to spread. News highlights: South Korean singer Kim Jong-kook ushered in the 30th anniversary of his debut, and announced the news of his marriage on the 18th. The wedding will be held in Seoul, only relatives and friends are invited to attend and will be held in a private form, but the woman's identity has not been exposed, which has attracted attention from the outside world. Kim Jong-kook said that it is meaningful to start a new beginning in an important year of his acting career, and he hopes to receive the blessing of the public. In the past, he had scandals with Yoon Eun-hye and Song Ji-ho, but he never admitted it, only emphasizing that it was a brother-sister relationship with Song Ji-ho. News highlights: US President Trump said that the details of tariffs on semiconductor chips will be announced within 2 weeks at the earliest, and the tax rate may be raised from the original 100% to 300%, causing shock in the industry. According to the Financial Times, the survey covers chips, equipment, materials, and end products, and the supply chain has been fully impacted. TSMC and Samsung are expected to be exempted from building factories in the United States, and Apple, which has promised huge investments, but Taiwan's small and medium-sized wafer factories such as UMC and VIS may bear the brunt. Experts warn that companies that cannot prove that they have substantial investment in the United States will find it difficult to survive, and it will be difficult for the huge supply chain to fully set up factories in the United States, which may severely damage competitiveness. News highlights: this week's astrological focus is on Sun, Mercury, Lion and Sun into Virgo. In the first half of the week, people express strong desires and are prone to get excited and speak out, and after the weekend, they turn to pay attention to details, health and execution. Jupiter at 45 degrees and Uranus stagnation bring a sudden turn, and social celebrities or events may have unexpected developments. 12 constellations remind: Aries, pay attention to sleep, don't be overly anxious emotionally. Taurus is at a low ebb, beware of hidden risks. Virgins have a lot of work pressure and need to take care of their bodies. Scorpio relaxes his mentality and settles his feelings first. Cancer must be patient and coordinated. Libra is slow to progress, and if you want to get rid of singles, you must be positive. Shooters should not oversimplify the problem. Aquarius is suitable for expanding overseas. Gemini needs to listen and communicate more. The lion is strong when it is strong, but it is not scary. Capricorn maintains a normal mind. Pisces is suitable for public promotion and confession. News highlights: Korean star Kim Jong-kook suddenly announced his marriage on the 18th, and the news shocked fans. He personally announced the good news to the members during the recording of Running Man, which is expected to be broadcast on the show, and the atmosphere was lively. He only revealed in April this year that he bought a new house for about $1.3 billion, which is now interpreted by netizens as a hint. In the past, Kim Jong-kook admitted that the reason for not getting married was sports, nagging, and frugality, but now he has met a true girl who can tolerate him, which moved fans and blessed him, bluntly saying that I finally waited for Appa's happiness. News highlights: Mirror Weekly exposed the content of his handwritten post-it note on the 18th, writing that Jinghua City should give up on the floor area ratio, and only hope that the administrative process will be accelerated so that they can complete it as soon as possible, which was accused of contradicting the previous statement of unaware. Huang Qiukang, chairman of the People's Party, responded that the post-it note was exposed last year, criticizing the media and the Beijing prosecutor's office for re-stir-frying cold rice and joint operation, which is like deliberately leading the wind and putting people in charge, emphasizing that the Taiwanese people are clear about this. News highlights: Ants and cockroaches are common in summer, and housekeeping expert Chen Yungrua shares insect prevention tips. Ant repellent can be used to wipe paths with alcohol, clean up food residues, seal holes, or mix sugar and boric acid to make homemade ant repellents, and use the smell of citrus essential oil to repel them. However, when using boric acid, you must pay attention to the safety of pets and children. As for cockroaches, the three-nose policy is adopted: no housing, no water, no food, avoid accumulating debris in cardboard boxes, remove stagnant water, and clean up food immediately. If cockroaches appear, soapy water or detergent can replace insecticides and quickly lose their mobility. News highlights: A 39-year-old female rider surnamed Chen rode a 55-year-old male passenger surnamed Lin and lost control when he went out late at night and crashed into a roadside tree in a substation. The police blood test found that the female rider's alcohol test value was 1.2, which was significantly exceeded the standard, and it was suspected that drunk cycling caused the accident. The locomotive at the scene of the accident flipped over many times, the front of the car was seriously damaged, and the road trees and substation box left impact marks. The female rider's family expressed shock and grief that her sister went out with male friends late at night and her whereabouts were unknown. The police reminded that the risk of drunk cycling is extremely high, and also warned passengers not to take drunk drivers on the road. News highlights: US President Trump issued a statement before talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and many European leaders that if Zelensky accepts some of Russia's conditions, including abandoning Crimea and never joining NATO, the Russian-Ukrainian war can end immediately, otherwise the conflict will continue. European leaders such as Macron, Merz, and Schmer are worried that the talks will turn into pressure on Zelensky, and are concerned about Russia's possible concessions and US security guarantees as the basis for a peace agreement. Trump emphasized that it is an honor to welcome the leaders of many countries, and the White House will usher in an important day. News highlights: according to the statistics of 591 new construction projects, the average sales rate in July this year was only 44.26%, down 16.8 percentage points from September last year, of which Tainan City was only 37.27%, the coldest in Taiwan. Although builders have stimulated buying through promotional methods such as low down payments and decorations, the transactions are still not ideal, with a total of about 12 units for sale in the 7 capitals, an increase of nearly 3 units compared to last year. Experts pointed out that factors such as credit controls, loan tightening, and international tariffs, coupled with the financial pressure on builders, have made the market have a strong wait-and-see mood, and pre-sales in the second half of the year are still difficult to see. News highlights: the Taichung City Taxation Bureau reminds that if the tax bill is not paid within the time limit, the property under its name may be forcibly seized and auctioned by the Administrative Enforcement Agency. In this case, Mr. Wang's shares were seized and auctioned off for unpaid taxes to repay the principal tax and late payment fees, and he had to bear administrative execution costs, which was much higher than the original tax amount. The Tax Bureau emphasizes that taxpayers should pay taxes within the time limit, and if they cannot pay in a short period of time, they can apply for installments or assist in clarifying disputes to avoid credit damage and additional costs. News highlights: the Meteorological Administration said that the tropical depression east of Taiwan may form typhoon number 12 Lingling as soon as tonight, and the probability of tropical cloud clusters developing off the coast of South China is low, and it has no direct impact on Taiwan, but it is necessary to continue to pay attention to potential tropical systems next week. The weather in Taiwan in the coming week will be mainly hot and hot, with afternoon thunderstorms likely to occur in the western and eastern half of the country in the afternoon, and there may be short-term heavy rain in the southern and central mountainous areas. News highlights: Taiwan stocks hit a new high of 24,431.78 points on the 18th, and the PCB group performed strongly, including Taiwan Optoelectronics, 2,383, high, 5,439, Nansidian, 2,316, Taeao, 6,274, Lianmao, 6,213, and other stocks rushed to the daily limit or record highs, driving the market momentum like a rainbow. Taiwan Optoelectronics benefited from the growth in demand for AI servers, with revenue of 83.72 billion yuan in July, an increase of 44.8% year-on-year, pre-tax earnings of 18.39 billion yuan, an increase of 70.5% year-on-year, and cumulative revenue of 525.6 billion yuan in the first 7 months, hitting a new high for the same period. The legal person is optimistic that the demand for large-scale data centers and AI ASICs will continue to boost the development of the PCB industry, making PCB, optical communications, and electronic materials groups the main attackers favored by Taiwan stock funds. News highlights: according to the latest survey by the TVBS Poll Center, President Lai Ching-te's satisfaction with his administration has dropped to 28%, triggering a wave of missing Tsai Ing-wen. Former legislator Shen Fuqian pointed out that if satisfaction continues to decline, it means that the DPP's basic plan of resisting China and defending Taiwan is shaken, and it also highlights the lack of available talents within the party. Some Tsai Ing-wen supporters even hope that she will fight again in 2028, and Yu Shuai believes that Lai Ching's public opinion base is not as good as Tsai Ing-wen's. Shen and Yu both pointed out that this will put pressure on Lai Ching and may also accelerate the purge of British people in the party, while British people try to keep a low profile to avoid expressing their positions. News highlights: Taiwan Water Supply Company reminded that there have been frequent frauds in the Baibei Tao area recently, and the group impersonated Taishui employees, falsely claiming that people's ID cards were fraudulently used to handle water business through phone, line, or video, and asked for verification of personal information and even provided fake police station footage to induce transfers. Taishui emphasized that official text messages have uniformly used the 111 short code, and called on the public to abide by the principle of 1 listen, 2 hangs, and 3 checks, pay attention to sensitive requirements, hang up immediately, and call 165 or Taishui 1910 for verification to prevent personal information and property damage. News highlights: after the failure of the first wave of recalls in 726, the DPP discussed cabinet reshuffle, which is expected to fall after the second wave of recalls on August 23. Sources from the political yuan said that the possibility of Cabinet Minister Zhou Rongta's resignation is low, and the reshuffle is mainly based on partial adjustments, focusing on Minister of Economy Guo Zhihui, Minister of Education Zheng Yanjiao and Minister of Health and Welfare Chu Taiyuan. The response of the internal party review government to external speeches is slow, and the legislative yuan mostly speaks out on important issues, and the cooperation mechanism is unbalanced. Guo Zhihui and Zheng Yanjiao must bear political responsibility due to controversial incidents, and their resignation is regarded as a reasonable plan to stop the bleeding, and the overall reorganization is mainly to stabilize government affairs. News highlights: spinach is known as the natural nutrient storehouse and contains vitamins A, C, K, folic acid, iron, magnesium, potassium and other nutrients, which help protect vision, improve immunity and maintain bone and blood pressure balance. Physician Lu Boren reminded that spinach contains high amounts of oxalic acid, which may damage the kidneys, and patients with kidney stones or gout should pay attention to their intake. It is recommended to pour out the soup after blanching, which can remove most of the oxalic acid and reduce the risk of kidney disease. Nephrologist Zhang Xiaoshan pointed out that too much oxalic acid may cause kidney damage, and in severe cases, lifelong dialysis may even be required. News highlights: a 39-year-old woman surnamed Chen rode a motorcycle with a 55-year-old man surnamed Lin, and when passing through the second section of Zhongxing Road, he lost control and crashed into a road tree and light pole. The police alcohol test value of Chen Nu reached 1.2 milligrams, and it was preliminarily determined that drunk driving caused the accident. Due to the deaths of the two and the relationship is unknown, the police are investigating their connection and travel route, and the cause of the accident has yet to be clarified. News highlights: after Lin Guangxuan withdrew from the election, he still stayed in the Kuomintang, participated in the primary election and lost the parliamentary primary, and later joined the mayoral campaign headquarters of Zhongwanan, serving as a confidential official of the city government, but often called himself director of Zhongwanan's office. On the other hand, Guo Zheyan, a member of the Kuomintang North City Council, was accused of using the volunteer squadron as a tool for elections and personal affairs because of his close relationship with Gu Wanyi, the captain of the Wanhua Volunteer Brigade, and asked the team members to stand at the intersection for free to pay their respects, sweep the streets, move, inspect the car, and even provide spare keys. News highlights: recent stock market fluctuations have made many people who are about to retire worry that their pensions will shrink, but in fact, labor pensions are divided into two different natures. One is the labor insurance pension, which is guaranteed by the government, and the rise and fall of the stock market will not be affected, as long as it complies with laws and regulations, it will be paid on time. The second is the labor retirement pension, which is a personal account system, invested by the Labor Fund Utilization Bureau, and the account amount will be affected by the performance of the fund, but the government has a minimum rate of return guarantee to avoid negative numbers. The labor retirement pension includes the principal over the years, the distribution income over the years, and the undistributed surplus of the year. The latter will be adjusted according to the current fund performance of the request, which may reduce the pension by hundreds of thousands. It is recommended that labor insurance can be received with peace of mind, and labor retirement can be selected appropriately according to the market, but it is not appropriate to miss life for small profits. News highlights: a Treasure father was attacked by a crocodile while taking a bath in the river, was bitten and dragged into the water. Crocodile attacks in Indonesia are frequent, with 179 cases occurring in 2024 alone, resulting in 92 deaths. Although there are warning signs in the local area, residents still often come into contact with crocodiles in their daily lives, reminding the public to remain vigilant in high-risk waters and avoid entering the water or approaching infested areas. News highlights: the referendum on the extension of the third nuclear service promoted by the Taiwan People's Party will be voted on this Saturday, 23rd, and former legislator Zheng Ziyuling publicly opposed the extension and called for a vote of no approval. She pointed out that the third nuclear power plant has been in operation for 40 years, and Pingdong residents have suffered many accident risks in the past. Zheng Ziyuling emphasized that the cost of service extension is high and the risk is high, and if an earthquake or tsunami occurs, it may cause fatal disasters, affecting the safety of millions of people and industries in southern Taiwan, and called on the whole people to protect their safety and not be affected by political operations. News highlights: 45-year-old Patricia Chung and her ex-husband Nicholas Tse have 2 sons and divorced in 2011. Director Wang Jing is on the show broke the news, pointing out that Chung often scolded Nicholas Tse behind his back, which became the fuse for the breakdown of the marriage, and he summed up the truth of the divorce between the two with the words personality incompatibility. Wang Jing recalled that the two were in a sweet relationship, but the accumulation of daily conflicts led to separation. Now Nicholas Tse and Fei Wang are back together, and Patricia Chung is focusing on the life of their 3 sons, and both sides have found happiness, but Wang Jing's public past is still criticized by netizens for speculating on old news. News highlights: Japanese artist Masaharu Fukuyama's agency Amuse stated on the 18th that it admitted that Fukuyama had participated in a social gathering hosted by Fuji TV's former special manager Dao Yang, and had cooperated with the third-party investigation committee to reply in writing in full, denying that it would refuse the investigation. The report pointed out that Fukuyama had made sexually suggestive remarks at the party, but the agency clarified that the participation was only for ordinary work dinners, and that he could not respond face-to-face due to his schedule at the time. Amuse said that the previous low-key handling was to protect privacy, but now it is interviewed to avoid misunderstandings and called on the media to avoid unnecessary speculation. News highlights: South Korean singer Kim Jong-kook announced his marriage today, 18th, and the wedding will be held in a private venue in Seoul, with only family and relatives and friends invited, not open to the public. Kim Jong-kook's agency said that this year coincides with the 30th anniversary of his debut, and it is more meaningful to start his life with a new identity, and hopes that everyone will support and bless him. He was a member of the boy group Turbo, and later became active in variety shows such as Running Man, where he attracted widespread attention due to his cleanliness and sports fanaticism. The 49-year-old Kim Jong-kook also had a scandal with Yoon Eun-hye, but did not admit it, but this time he personally informed fans of the good news through a handwritten letter from the fan club. News highlights: after Chinese actress Zhao Lucy recently fell out with the agency Galaxy Cool Entertainment, she frequently posted and broadcast live on social platforms. On the 17th, she posted on Zaya Hongsha criticizing the hermit crab actors for never having masterpieces, emphasizing that there is no bottom line in the industry, and there should be a bottom line in life, which means that some actors rely on other people's traffic to seek benefits. Netizens have speculated that she may be alluding to actress Yu Shuksan, but some people believe that Yu Shuksan has masterpieces such as Kanglin Ju and Eternal Night Galaxy, and is not a hermit crab. After the article was exposed, it sparked heated discussions, with fans commenting on her with mixed reviews. News highlights: family medicine physician Wei Xiang shared that he relied on the 211-plate breakfast to lose 22 kilograms in 8 months, from 90 kilograms to 68 kilograms. The breakfast principle is 2 servings of vegetables, 1 servings of protein, and 1 servings of starch, with boiled cauliflower, corn shoots, and bok choy as the main vegetables, and simple shabu-shabu slices or tea eggs for protein, and sweet potatoes for starch. Wei Xiang said that this method is healthy, satiety and can be implemented for a long time, without worrying about excessive calories, and successfully achieved weight loss. News highlights: the Ministry of the Interior announced the amendment to the Measures for the Restoration of Taiwan People's Status, which stipulates that those who have lost their Taiwanese status due to obtaining a Chinese passport or establishing a citizenship in China must apply for restoration in accordance with the requirements of national defense and security, international image, or social stability, or based on humanitarian considerations, and added 3 new disallowed or revocable regulations. A former senior official of the Ministry of the Interior criticized the draft as unconstitutional, saying that the original principal permit, exception permit was changed to principal permission, exception permission to restrict freedom of movement. The Ministry of the Interior responded that this move is in response to the national security strategy to prevent the infiltration of foreign forces, and emphasized that there is no unconstitutional issue. News highlights: the Ministry of Audit reported that more than 2,000 indigenous polling stations in Taiwan have one-person polling stations due to too few electors, resulting in the exposure of voting choices during the voting process, which is equivalent to registered voting and infringes on the right to secret voting. Former indigenous legislator candidate Savungas Valencianan pointed out that this phenomenon puts high pressure on indigenous people to vote and has a low voter turnout. She suggested that the Central Election Commission adopt combined voting or open up indigenous people to apply for or transfer voting, and expand the scope of the issue to polling stations with less than 10 people to protect the right of indigenous people to vote secretly. News highlights: a 63-year-old woman surnamed Wang was rescued after falling into a valley on the Bi Highway on the 13th, and died of burns to 90% of her body in a fire at her home in Sangxing Township, Yunnan 3 days later on the 16th. The fire occurred under the sofa in the living room, with a burning area of less than 3 pings, and the fire was extinguished in 20 minutes, but it still took lives, and the reason is a mystery. At that time, her husband, Dean L. Uzalan, rushed in to rescue his wife, and he was also hospitalized due to smoke choking. The police and fire investigation personnel have returned to the scene to investigate, and no combustion or suspicious items were found, and the residues were sent for examination to clarify the cause of the fire and the cause of death. News highlights: in order to encourage middle-aged and elderly people to return to the workplace, the Ministry of Labor launched the 55+ Employment Incentive, which allows those who have left their jobs for more than 3 consecutive months and are at least 55 years old, 45 years old for legal retirees, to apply for job registration with public employment service agencies and be recommended to be employed by the same employer for more than 90 consecutive days. Full-time workers can receive 3 yuan each time, and some working hours can receive 15,000 yuan each time, and each person can receive up to 2 times. To apply, you need to submit documents such as application form, identity certificate, salary certificate, passbook cover, and consent to inquire about insurance information, and the salary must reach the basic salary or more than half of the standard. News highlights: microplastic particles are widely present in drinking water, and tap water intake in Asia is particularly high, which may cause health risks such as oxidative stress, genotoxicity, inflammation, cell necrosis, and apoptosis, and even affect the blood, placenta, breast milk, lungs, and brain. Food safety expert Wayne suggests boiling tap water before letting it cool or filter to remove up to 90% of microplastic particles. The water quality in northern Taiwan is softer, with a removal rate of less than 80%, while the water quality in the south is harder, with a removal rate of about 90%. News highlights: a 27-year-old man surnamed Guo beat his 23-year-old girlfriend Yan on the street due to a verbal dispute, and attacked and dragged her hair with a broom. The woman was injured in her left shoulder and sent to the hospital for treatment, but fortunately there was no serious problem. Because the woman was unwilling to file an injury complaint, the police sent Guo Nan's letter to the Kaohsiung District Prosecutor's Office for investigation on the crime of obstruction of liberty, and completed the notification procedure in accordance with the Domestic Violence Prevention and Control Act. News highlights: Chinese actor Fan Chengcheng was recently followed by crazy fans at Hangzhou Xiaoshan Airport, and when the staff stepped forward to dissuade him, the other party reversed with the intention of crashing, but fortunately there were no casualties. The studio publicly condemned the exaggerated behavior of the 3 female fans, and has preserved the video evidence and reported it to the police, and the person involved has been brought back by the police. The studio calls on fans to chase stars rationally, resolutely resist illegitimate behavior, and maintain public order and artist safety. News highlights: meteorological expert Wu Durong said that from today, 18th, to Thursday, 21st, affected by the weakening of the Pacific high pressure, Taiwan's moisture increased, and there were occasional sporadic rainfall in some areas, but the overall was mainly cloudy and muggy in sunny days. The tropical disturbance in the South China Sea and the southeast of Taiwan developed slowly and has no impact on Taiwan. The third tropical disturbance over the eastern sea of the Philippines in the second half of the week still needs to be observed, and it is not clear whether it threatens Taiwan. News highlights: former People's Party chairman Kay Wens has been detained for more than 9 months, and his wife Chen Pike has been emotionally unstable recently, and she burst into tears when she attended a press conference today, 18th, threatening to take Kay Wens' photo to Tiananmen Square in Beijing to complain to the international community about the Taiwan government's persecution of the chairman of the opposition party. Chen Pike said that Kay's physical condition during his detention was worrying, and he was puzzled by the judicial results, emphasizing that he was a doctor and criticizing the court for being rude to those who questioned him. Chen Hai-han, director of the Legislative Yuan Caucus, reassured and added that this remark echoed Lai King's previous speech and questioned how Taiwan can criticize other countries if it can abuse the judiciary. News highlights the tropical disturbance located on the east side of Taiwan intensified into a tropical depression this morning, 18th, and the Japan Meteorological Agency predicts that typhoon number 12 Lingling will form as soon as tonight, moving northward and approaching the waters of Okinawa. The Central Meteorological Administration said that the typhoon has no direct impact on Taiwan at present. News highlights after the defeat of the 726th recall, there were constant rumors of the Executive Yuan's cabinet reshuffle, and Minister of Economic Affairs Guo Zhihui attracted the most attention. It is reported that Zhou Rongta is close to the limit of his patience with Guo Zhihui, and has not defended him when communicating with public opinion recently, and the party even believes that Guo Zhihui's resignation has become a consensus. The restructuring is expected to start after 823, which may cover the heads of ministries and commissions such as the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the Ministry of Health and Welfare, and the Ministry of Digital Affairs, but the successor of the Ministry of Economic Affairs has yet to be considered. News highlights the referendum on the extension of the nuclear power plant will be voted on the 23rd, and the Kuomintang launched a satirical animation for cheap guests in the South-style promotional video on the 14th to spark discussion, and then released an extra video Wrong Road, Don't Get in the Car on the 18th. In the video, Principal Lyle drives away, symbolizing the wrong direction, and the words Wrong Road, Don't Get in the Car appear on the final screen. The Kuomintang emphasized that if leaders only focus on ideology and ignore reality, they will push society into danger, and called on the public to vote for the extension of the third nuclear service on the 23rd and oppose the recall to protect nursing supervision and local development. News highlights doctors remind that choosing sunglasses should not only look at appearance, but also functionality. It is recommended to choose lenses with UV resistance of UV400 and UV shielding rate of more than 75%, and it is best to choose a full-face design for outdoor activities. The lens color is best gray-black, which transmits light naturally, brown and amber can enhance the contrast, and yellow is suitable for driving at night, blue, red, and rose colors are not recommended. When purchasing, check whether the lenses are distorted and ensure a comfortable fit to avoid long-term orbital fatigue. Only by choosing glasses correctly can we effectively protect the health of our eyes. News highlights typhoon-heavy rains have caused the price of leafy vegetables to soar, and nutritionist Guo Huanzhen suggested that the public can choose mushrooms, sprouts, sea vegetables, roots, dried vegetables and frozen vegetables as alternatives, which are both nutritious and stable in price. Frozen vegetables can retain about 80% of their nutrients and do not need to be washed during cooking. Dried vegetables need to be fully soaked and washed, and those with poor liver and kidney function should eat in moderation. Rotating intake of multiple vegetables can still supplement vitamins and phytochemicals, and can be replaced with food stored at home on typhoon days, and replenished when the weather is stable, taking into account health and wallet. News highlights the small particles raised around the eyes are not what is commonly referred to as fat granules, but are commonly syringoma, milia, or xanthelasma. Syringoma is a benign proliferation of sweat duct cells, mostly located around the eyes, and is neither painful nor itchy. Milia is pearly white, similar to whiteheads, and grows at the junction of the epidermis and dermis. Xanthelasma is related to dyslipidemia and often appears symmetrically. Skincare products cannot eliminate or increase particles, and if you don't care about appearance, you can coexist peacefully. The treatment method is mainly laser, which can be improved after anesthesia and surgery can be considered for larger or recurrent patients to avoid self-removal to avoid infection. News highlights you don't have to completely quit starch to lose weight. You can use the carbon cycle weight loss method to alternate high, medium, and low carb days, and combine exercise to improve metabolism and fat burning. On high carbon days, consume exquisite carbohydrates such as rice, noodles, and desserts, combined with high intensity exercise. Medium carbon day is mainly brown rice, sweet potatoes, and beans, and gentle exercises carried out. Low carbon days are mainly vegetables, tofu, and mushrooms, and strenuous exercise is avoided. The amount of carbohydrates can be calculated according to body weight, with the most high carbon days and the lowest low carbon days, and high, medium, low equals 2:3:2 can be taken in a week. The key is to eat at the right time and control the proportion, which can not only satisfy the appetite, but also effectively lose weight. News highlights since 2020, Taiwan has banned travel agencies from organizing group tours to the mainland to prevent the new crown pneumonia, and the ban has not been lifted for 5.5 years. Taiwanese travel agencies are trapped and can only sell in-flight wine to independent travelers, and underground tours and privately arranged itineraries are prevalent. Mainland operators use social software to attract customers at low prices, and the price is attractive but there is a risk of fraud. The industry believes that the ban on group tours has caused market chaos. Taiwanese travel agencies are unable to compete fairly, costs and protections are high but revenues are replaced, and tourism business opportunities flow into the hands of others, which is helpless. News highlights an octogenarian couple in Fengmei Village, Liujiao Township, Qi County, were found dead on the afternoon of the 17th. When the family members entered the house, the old man's body was in the corridor on the second floor, and his wife, who suffered from dementia, fell in the living room on the first floor. The police preliminarily determined that after the sudden death of the old man, his wife starved to death without anyone to take care of him, and there was no sign of external intervention at the scene. The husband and wife usually take care of their wives by the old man, and they have been taking care of the elderly for many years, and most of the children work in other places, and only return home to visit on holidays, and the exact cause of death is still to be examined by prosecutors and forensic doctors. News highlights: a builder in Tainan announced the closure of the house after handing over the house, due to rising labor and materials, arrears owed by construction companies, and housing policies and tax pressures, resulting in no revenue before and no support afterwards. Investment bloggers remind the public that when purchasing pre-sale houses, they should give priority to large or listed builders to ensure warranty and follow-up services after completion, and avoid the risks caused by the closure of small builders. News highlights: the first case of rental company fraud in China was recently cracked by the National Highway Police, where the company involved forged car rental contracts and fraudulently used other people's identities to pass on national highway tolls and traffic tickets to unsuspecting people, causing nearly 20 victims. The investigation found that the loan shark company was suspected of providing borrowers' personal information to assist in the production of fake contracts, and at least 14 people were involved in the case. Preliminary estimates suggest that the suspect evaded tolls of about 230 yuan and revoked nearly 200 yuan of fines. The police have arrested the people involved and seized the drugs, emphasizing that violators should bear their own responsibility and innocent people should not be implicated. News highlights: according to the latest survey by the Legislative Yuan, Taiwan's emergency congestion continues to worsen, and it is estimated that more than 30 patients will be stranded for more than 24 hours in 2025. The rate of timely hospitalization of critically ill patients decreased, and the hospitalization rate of level 1 patients within 8 hours was only 39.33%. The Ministry of Health and Welfare has invested in improving funds since 2021, but the number of emergency medical visits continues to increase, and the National Health Insurance Administration's increase in part of the burden in 2023 has limited effect. In addition, the low health insurance benefits such as endotracheal intubation are only 835 to 2,321 yuan, resulting in the loss of medical manpower and exacerbating the crisis of acute and critical care. News highlights: are you worried about the red letters of total cholesterol on the physical examination report? In fact, the problem is not necessarily eating too much oil, but may lack a highly viscous water-soluble dietary fiber that can adhere to bile acid, glucomannan in konjac. Studies have shown that consuming about 3 grams per day can reduce LDL-C by up to 10%, preventing cholesterol reabsorption by absorbing bile acid like a sponge. Replace white rice with konjac rice or konjac noodles, paired with black fungus, onions, almonds, and other ingredients, which is not only simple and delicious, but also effectively improves blood lipids, making it a natural cardiovascular health method with no side effects. News highlights: the release of sky lanterns in Pingxi, New Taipei has become a popular attraction, but recently the well-known YouTuber Caiti Moss and Cai Shengsheng was reported for standing on the railroad tracks with his whole family and was fined 4 yuan. Although tourists feel that the sky lanterns on the railway tracks have a traditional atmosphere, they also agree that safety is a priority. The industry said that there have been no accidents for many years and will allow tourists to release sky lanterns after the train passes, but they must still abide by the law to avoid affecting business and tourist safety, and called for clearer rules.